everyone. I, Prakharkar, will be your host for the session, A Day in the Life of a Corporate Counsel, with Ms. Parveen Mahathani. This is the era of corporates. The corporate or business sector has shown extraordinary growth in the last few decades, which has resulted in launching a lot of new career avenues for people in corporate law, being one of the most prominent ones. Of all the moving parts involved in business operation, any company needs a reliable analyst that can sift through law, restriction, and other compliance regulation to ensure that a business is on the right path legally. Enter a corporate counsel. A corporate counsel handles all transactions on behalf of a company, either as part of their in-house legal team or as part of corporate law firm who have been retained to provide legal services. The work area include legal research, negotiating contracts, facilitating mergers and acquisitions, handling a case against or for the company, ensuring compliance of regulation, patents, policy making, etc. Essentially, any intersection with the law that a business encounter is in how it operates is run by a corporate counsel for advice. It is a comparatively new field and hence promises opportunity and growth option. To discuss more on this, we have with us an eminent speaker, Ms. Parveen Mahathani. Ms. Parveen Mahathani is Chief Legal Officer at Mahindra Lifespace Developer Limited and the founder of Amwizer, Knowledge by Experience. Parveen graduated with an LLB from Government College, Law College, Mumbai. She has won MC Chagla Gold Medal from Mumbai University for securing the highest mark across law in Mumbai. Parveen began her career in Nishit Desai Associates, where she worked in their Mumbai and Palo Alto offices. She moved on to join ILNFS Trust Company Limited and subsequently Lodha Developers Private Limited, where as Vice President Legal, she spearheaded the largest private investment into London's prime residential market, as well as India's largest FDI deals in real estate. She later joined Wadia Group of Companies, where she headed their litigation and non-litigation practices. She then joined Tata Housing Development Company Limited as General Counsel. She was featured by the Indian Corporate Counsel Association in their book titled India's Finest In-House Counsel, published in 2016. She has also been acknowledged as Asia Top 25 In-House Counsel by Asia Legal Business. She has also been featured in top in-house legal teams by Legal UK 500 GK Power List, India in 2017 and 2019. She has also been honored as the top 25 General Counsel in India in 2018 by ICCA in London. She has been featured in the book Legal Luminaries published by ICCA and the book Constellation, the Shining Star in the Legal Fraternity in 2019. She has been honored as the woman leader in male-dominated industry in 2019 and was also featured in Economic Times in their feature Young Leaders, Women Who Go Beyond and Above to Distinguish Themselves Professionally Deserve Accolades. Parveen has an initiative called Amwizer, Knowledge by Experience, where she hosts online sessions with the industry expert to inspire and motivate young adults. She also works in the space of inspiring teaching and motivating children with their special needs. She has written extensively on various aspects of commercial law, including capital market, tax, insurance laws, and is a regular speaker at various forums. We welcome you, ma'am. Ma'am, we would request you to please share your journey with us and of becoming such a successful corporate counsel and being such a decorated and award-winning counsel as well, ma'am.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here with you today, and I appreciate the kind words. I started my law in the Government Law College in Mumbai, and prior to studying law, I've studied designing. I was involved in some family matters where I was exposed to a lot of interaction with very eminent lawyers. I was deeply fascinated at that point with the depth of knowledge, their analytical skills, and the command over the language that lawyers have. Being an avid reader myself, the practice of law was a perfect combination of pursuing my passion. So after designing, I joined the Government Law College. I went on to get the gold medal, but I did not even know it existed, and that was not my objective. It was my fear for failure that drove me to keep revising. It was a desire to prove that I can succeed since I came from a non-legal background that gave me the drive to keep working harder till I was satisfied that I was thorough in that subject. But with that said, I would say that while a gold medal really doesn't make a difference in the long run, it is the advice that we give daily at work which needs to be its weight in gold. So every day at work, whether you're in court, whether you're in the office, it has to be your absolute best. And it is that experience built over a period of time that defines your excellence. I was told many years ago that how you do anything defines how you do everything. And these words have been so powerful that it's not just when you have an exam, it's not just when you're in a final negotiation, it is not just when you're in the final hearing stage that you give it your best. It's every stage, every hearing, every draft that you do, every time that you're revising, that when you do that anything really well, it's really going to define how you do everything in life, which changes your present position. So therefore, if we hold that true, that attitude towards our daily tasks define who you are. I've interacted a lot with Justice Sri Krishna over the years. And he told me once, because when I met him, I said, you don't come from an era of technology, but you have drafted the data protection law. You're drafting these laws which are so technology driven, which requires such an in-depth understanding. How do you do it at your age after so many years? And he told me very simply that tomorrow, if I am invited to speak about Chinese history in China, I will say yes, just give me time. And that's what he taught me. He said, have an open mind. Even if it's a task given to you, a legal topic given to you that you know nothing about, you have to accept it as a challenge, put in that research and perform. That attitude is something which I would definitely say everybody should learn from to achieve anything in any profession. There are certain people that over my 20 years of experience, I would say I have learned very important things from. I started my career with Nishit Desai Associates, where directly from Government Law College through the placement I joined them. I owe my entire drafting skills, my structured thought process to Mr. Nishit Desai. Very, very systematically, the way they present their advice, whether it is by legal opinions, whether it is tax structuring, or any kind of corporate advice, that level of detailing, even to font size or how you present it, is something that I learned from him, where he said it is like how you go and you will pay either for a buffet or for a fine dining restaurant. How does your plate look? That's how you should treat each document, whether it is a letter or contract. Not only the content needs to be good, it has to be visually appealing. Therefore, your font size, your formatting, your margins, everything needs to be done correctly before it is sent to the client. That level of discipline in work is something which I still treasure today, which gets appreciated today. I did a lot of litigation where Mr. Nariman was appearing in those matters. And believe me, that is one experience which cannot be replaced by any law book. With what you learn with Mr. Nariman, he has taught me the value of thorough preparation and extensive research. Every conference is preparing about notes because he would prepare afresh for the next hearing, even though he's appeared in the matter multiple times earlier with the same facts. I also learned from him that the more you achieve success, you must guide people and carry people along on your path to success. I have seen many very, very senior lawyers, partners in law firms, where they are brilliant at their work, but they don't carry people along. So, and I have worked with people where, like Mr. Nariman, where they are not only doing a wonderful service to their client, but they're explaining the juniors on the team why they are making those changes, why a particular judgment cannot be relied on, what is the rationale for structuring the arguments. They teach along the way. And that is a very important skill which I respect and I seek to implement and try to implement in my life too. Mr. Janak Dwarkadas, another senior counsel who I would hold in very high regard for his court craft, his persuasiveness, that kind of skill helps not only in litigation, but is also important when you're formulating the litigation strategy, also very relevant when you're negotiating large contracts. Because one is to know the law, the second is to convince the other side that you are right. That is a different skill which I learned extensively from him. And last but definitely not the least, Mr. Darius Kambata. His conduct, his knowledge has always kept me in check. He has said several times that we have a duty as lawyers to do what is right. And the only objective is not just winning for your client. That duty to the law is something which is very important, which will always get tested in a lot of matters that you keep continuing to do, whether in court, whether within a boardroom, where you always get tested about whether you're doing the right thing. And to maintain your stand, to be able to convince why you're right and give a balanced view, that is an important skill too. We must speak with humility and guide the future generations at the same time. So for me, 20 years since I passed out from law college to now is a journey which has been rather humbling as well as enriching.
Thank you, ma'am. It was a very interesting talk, actually. Like a lot of, you were actually, I'll say, very fortunate, or I would say very keen to actually find a lot of role models in your life and learn from them as well. That is very important, to look out for people who can actually guide you and help you and motivate you to move forward. That is really good, ma'am. Thank you. I think it was a really interesting talk, and I'm quite sure a lot of learnings our student base will take out of that. So, ma'am, quickly jump into the questions. Can you please tell us more about, say, day in, day out activities of a corporate counsel?
Yes. See, the role of a corporate counsel is that of a juggler. You have to handle transactions and litigations of the entire company. And therefore, there is, unlike a law firm where you have specializations in terms of teams, that does not exist. Therefore, whether you're doing a merger acquisition, you're doing extensive due diligence, contracts, litigations across the entire sector that you're dealing with. So if currently I am in the real estate infrastructure sector, you're required to know all the laws relating to it. So whether labor, FEMA, SEBI, the Companies Act, all of it is required. If you are in FMCG or aviation or the IT, then all the gamut of laws which go with it. So you become a lawyer for the company for every requirement that the company has. What is also important is due to the social media and the way technology has advanced, the way the law has over a period of time increased liability, increased penalties for corporates. There are daily issues which require instant legal advice due to the ramifications, the way social media news can be spread, whether through WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter. These were not methods that were prevalent earlier, and there used to be a lot more time to be able to give advice. Now, with that speed of technology, the speed of legal advice also needs to match up. And therefore, the role of a corporate counsel is that of somebody who is the go-to person in the company to give an immediate solution, which is legally right, which probably needs immediate drafting to safeguard the interests of the company. What is important also is that the advice needs to be balanced, keeping in mind the brand that you're representing. So that's what is required of a corporate counsel on a daily basis, where you're not just a lawyer, but you're also the guardian of the brand of the company.
Very true, ma'am. Very true. So, ma'am, as you said, with the advent of technology, the technology is coming in, and obviously the industry would have changed with time, and policies are coming in every few days. So, how do you keep yourself updated on all these information?
The way to success for me is a continuous pursuit of knowledge. Being an avid reader, I read the latest judgments, the amendments in law, circulars. It is also important, specifically in the sector that you are in, that you are updated with the business news, the developments in that sector, because you cannot give legal advice in the present world without being aware of the complexities and the risks of the business. With that said, it is also important that not just legal reading and updating yourself on legal and business. It is important, given that law is all about the language. There needs to be a continuous updation of even your literature skills, because that translates into the quality of your drafting. So therefore, apart from everything which is legal, a lot of reading time must be dedicated on literature, whether it is non-fiction, biographies, or even well-written novels, which you must do in your spare time to be able to eventually grow your command over the language also.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for that answer. Actually, that brings me to a similar question that I was having. Is you were also talking about earlier about industry-specific skills. Say you're right now in real estate, so that would require different kind of knowledge. Say if you are in finance area, so obviously CA kind of skill are also required. And if in some security areas, then different kind of IP laws, all those things are required, right? So on top of law knowledge, I am understanding a lot of other skills are required. So any specific way we should look into that? Okay, so industry specific, this industry has this law. Any idea on that? Your thoughts?
Sure. It is always important, and as time permits, to have any other qualification apart from law, based on the sector that you seek to represent, because understanding it from the business side allows you to address the technical issues of any matter, as well as simplify it in the language that they can understand. To give you an example, if we're doing a technical arbitration which relates to a dispute on the quantum of steel which has been consumed in a building, and therefore what is the quantum of the amount which is claimed by a party. To understand that difference, when you have a technical understanding of the engineering calculations, then only will you be able to translate that into your arbitration statement of claim. Therefore, the lawyer's role is to actually step into the shoes of the business, understand that, and therefore have a meaningful drafting which is done. Apart from any technical qualification, time permitting, it is also important to have skills which are social and emotional intelligence based when you're in a corporate, apart from the legal acumen. So what happens at times is that a law firm is only a client or transaction focused. But when you're a part of a company and you have to discuss a lot of issues with other departments so that a transaction or litigation can be represented, you have to have the skill to listen. to understand the issues from the perspective of the business. And then you have to have the skill to be able to articulate and simplify it, so that either the managing director or the CFO, the engineer, the architect, whoever's the business head, can understand it and take informed decisions. So therefore, it is a holistic personality development which is required. What is also required is, because there are always business pressures. So unlike a law firm, where it would probably say client to confirm and leave it, when you're within a system, you have to stay connected. You have to be authentic to the work. You have to speak the truth and give them the facts and the legal position the way it is. So to sum it up, as a corporate counsel, you are actually the counsel for the company, which is a separate legal entity in the eyes of the law, and you are not representing any particular individual or a director in the company. And therefore, there needs to be a balance between identifying and accepting that as a constructive challenge and having the confidence in your own expertise to be able to communicate your point of view.
That's very important, actually. Yes, understanding and developing those soft skills as well is very important, right? So that also covers some part of my question about how in-house counsel is differ from a corporate law firm, but I think you have covered that part already. So if, say, someone is starting a career in corporate law, so obviously on the first day or the initial years as well, they would not be performing a similar kind of role. So obviously they will be moving in, gradually getting into more decision making and more critical roles. So what would be different kind of roles that a person would perform in their initial beginning years?
So when I started 20 years back, and of course I started with a law firm, I did not join directly into a corporate. The concept was that a corporate counsel has a role which is probably cushy, doesn't require a bit of travel, is a prelude to retirement. But that is really not the case at all. It is a very, very hectic job and requires a lot of presence of mind. The role of when you join in and you climb up the ladder to reach the head of a department, of a legal department, can be very, very holistic as an experience, because you're dealing with a multitude of issues. As compared to when you join a law firm, there is always a partner who will buffer, who will review the work and then advise the client. But when you are within a corporate at any level, everybody else is relying on you to give the correct legal info. And therefore, it forces a certain discipline to ensure that you are thorough, because you know that there is no room for error. And that level of pressure actually enhances and speeds the quality of the lawyer that you eventually transition to and become.
Thank you. So as you mentioned, there were a lot of critical decisions that let's say, as you were mentioning about some litigation wherein we were discussing how that particular, I forgot that terminology, really bad of me. So considering every big decision that business need to run by you and your team, so how stressful and challenging the job is actually?
Yes. So as a corporate counsel, you end up juggling between multiple transactions, multiple people, but you must always be ready to fend off a legal crisis or add value to a new initiative. Therefore, the challenge is actually to ensure that accurate legal guidance is given to the management team. This has to be keeping in mind the risk appetite of the company that you represent, ring fencing future legal issues, and ensuring compliance at the same time. So therefore, you need to anticipate and respond to the issues. There are a lot of times that we are required to make judgment calls. While our endeavor is always perfection, but you're required to take judgment calls as to when it's safe to settle for a simply good as there will still be times when high standards are necessary. So the exigency of the business needs to be kept in mind. So therefore, the advice is within the time frame that the business requires. What we also need is a flair for communicating with the board or the management team, and the skills to manage a team that builds the relationships with other business stakeholders. So corporate counsel in effect holds the moral compass for a company and advises them, keeping in mind the impact on the brand.
That must be really sometimes really stressful and challenging both, I guess. So
That's right.
I was reading an article and it was saying that the work of a corporate lawyer gets monotonous over time. So like throughout every day was like a similar kind of role. Our work is coming back and again. So what are your thoughts on that?
So after 20 years of practicing law in various companies and law firms, I can confidently say that each day has brought about new challenges and diverse legal issues. There's never been a moment where I have felt that the work is repetitive or there is a sense of boredom. What is also important is your own passion that you bring to each transaction or litigation. It is very easy, similar to when you are studying or doing any other house chore, if I can say so. It's how you do it differently every time, or the energy that you infuse into it, which actually decides that outcome. And no two legal issues or no two matters can in any case be factually identical. And every time that the facts, the dates, the chronology starts changing, the entire legal position changes. And therefore, I definitely cannot say that there has been any time where two matters have been identical. They may have been similar, but definitely they cannot be identical, and it requires an equal amount of work to be put in. What is also absolutely not monotonous as a corporate counsel is, apart from the legal work, there is a lot of participation required on the business planning and the strategic advice that is given to the company. So apart from handling the day-to-day corporate legal affairs, you have to foster corporate conscience. You have to set the tone for the company's ethical culture. There are efforts to implement legal educational responsibilities. Therefore, we have knowledge sharing, knowledge transfer sessions within the legal department or within the business departments on the developments of law or where certain transactions happen for the company. And a lot of effort goes in training also the younger colleagues. And then you have a lot of role with the auditors, because there is an audit which is taking place. You have to supervise that relationship, and that is the entire gamut and the multitude of work. So for your role is not just as that of a lawyer, you're part of the business team as a separate vertical to manage the other areas which a corporate requires.
So definitely a myth broken, I would say. It is not at all monotonous. Every day you're getting new chance, new opportunities, new challenges. That's good. That's good. That's really nice, and that keeps you up to work more into it and learn more, obviously. So law has always been considered as a prestigious job and prestigious field. So does corporate law also bring the same honor, satisfaction, and pride back?
Yes. If you take all the recent news articles over the last couple of years, whether it's the corporate scandals, the globalization, the increased focus on corporate governance, advancement in technology, data protection, all of this has only increased the importance of the corporate counsel. You're required to understand the business apart from the legal issues, and you're also the guardian of the brand of the company. So you're required to give clear, pragmatic, and commercially viable legal advice while being aligned with the company's core business activity. The role actually requires you to spot the risks, provide mitigation strategies, while being mindful of the company's appetite for risk. So, over the years, the role has moved to that of a business enabler and a strategic partner. Um, it does bring a lot of honor, satisfaction, and pride when you see a transaction actually culminating into a project, when you see an actual customer in a real estate sense holding a key to their home, when you see that transition of the couple of years of effort that you've put in right from an acquisition stage to the construction till completion, and you're part of that entire journey, it gives you a real-time satisfaction and pride.
That must be really satisfying, ma'am. I can completely understand that part. So, and how frequent does a corporate counsel have to go to an office of court in that case?
It's an absolute myth that people have many times asked me that a corporate counsel does not attend court or is not required to travel as much as their counterparts, either as counsels or law firm partners. It is not a lifestyle friendly or a prelude to retirement to anybody who feels they want to join a corporate for that purpose. You're required to travel actually on a very serious note to all the locations where the transaction really is, whether for the merger acquisition, for the litigation, for the due diligence. You're dealing with litigation which is in multitudes of courts, whether the Supreme Court, the High Court, right down to a collector or tehsildar. You're dealing with criminal matters, police stations, EOW complaints. And sometimes it actually becomes a challenge to decide which location that you really need to prioritize and be there. So if you take my present company, Mahindra, or my previous organization, Tata, which has projects in practically all states and also in a couple of countries abroad, you are required to not just travel, but you're required to some extent even understand a lot of the local legal issues, because all of it is so state specific. You have language barriers. You have to deal with all of that and provide the advice. So travel actually is a given, where you are practically in the office only for a particular time, but you are going to the other offices of the company, because all corporates have their offices, probably a head office in one location, but you have a lot of project offices, site office, branch offices in different locations, and you have to be able to service all of them at the same time. Also, when you're doing that kind of litigation and you are in those multiple regions, being there for all these hearings or the drafting or these conferences all become relevant, because you are the client and representing the business and creating that balance to decide which matter needs to be argued, how the litigation strategy needs to change, or which ones you really need to settle to avoid an adverse order or a precedent. And therefore, your role to really be present is for all of that also. So if you actually see the trend of corporate counsels now compared to probably 20 years back, the corporate counsels now, whether a senior corporate counsel role or the head of a department, all of them, they are younger, they're more agile, and they're more technology savvy because of this requirement to be available in multi locations.
So another myth broken, I think. A lot of travel that is required, I can understand. That's good for some perspective of some students who like to travel, of people who like to travel and like to explore new places, new cultures as well, and obviously because I mentioned different geographies are there. So that is very interesting too.
Absolutely. You get a very varied experience, because you actually, when you're with a law firm and you're located only in one office, you end up becoming specialized, yes. But to be able to have a pan-India experience in different locations, because each state, each court functions very differently. So you're understanding that and adapting to those states, whether you go right from West Bengal to Orissa, I mean, with moving away from the regular Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai, Mumbai, which is a given, when you see how law operates in other states also, whether Rajasthan or, Karnataka and Kerala or even Goa, it's very different. And when you have that kind of experience, it makes you a very different, well-rounded lawyer.
That's very true. That's very true. I think that's interesting, ma'am. Ma'am, how do you foresee the employment opportunities in India, say with respect to law and with respect to corporate counsel, especially the globalization and the trade and economy has been changing so rapidly in the past time?
Yes. So with the way the economy is shaping up and is probably going to be for the next couple of years, there are, of course, a lot of demands on the budget spend that a corporate has for legal expenses. Therefore, over a period of time, you would see that the in-house legal teams have started becoming larger because corporates are transitioning to building their own capabilities with their own always available corporate team than outsourcing that to a law firm. Law firms are appointed only on a need basis or any large litigation or a transaction which requires multiple people to be involved in, or if you're going for a very, very specific technical opinion. That's where it is now becoming the norm. So law firms in the olden days, which used to be there for generic advice, that is disappearing, and law firms today are now becoming more for specialized advice, because that is what corporates are really approaching them for. And the corporate in-house team is taken over that role of providing all the generic advice. In fact, a lot of drafting, most of the drafting is for all contracts of a corporate are done in-house. There's very little which gets outsourced. So the corporate team, in a sense, is like a small law firm in itself. So if you take Mahindra and Mahindra entire group, we are probably over 200 lawyers within the group itself. So that's the magnitude of and volume of work that is within the system, which is being done by that pool of lawyers.
So definitely more opportunities in joining as a corporate counsel than joining a law firm instead, I would say. Very interesting. So is the job of a corporate counsel well paid as compared to the other law practitioners?
Yes. Like any profession, and even within a law firm, you get paid for the quality of the work that you do. Today, corporate counsels, because of the increased importance of the quantum of work that is done in-house, are at times paid at par or even better than a lot of their counterparts within law firms. Therefore, there is no distinguishing mark, and there is no hesitation that one should have when trying to decide whether to be with a law firm or with a corporate. It is more about deciding whether you would like to work only in a particular sector or a gamut of laws, or you prefer the law firm side where either you're a counsel and you're practicing, or you're within and you want to grow up and become a partner in a law firm where you are spending a substantial amount of time marketing to get clients and then service those clients and work in that flexible environment. So it's really a choice that you're making, how you would choose, for example, your specialization subjects in law. It is more about that. Otherwise, in terms of quality of experience, in terms of pay packages which are being paid, also as a corporate, you must remember that there are a lot of perks in addition to the package. Because you're part of either a large conglomerate, your travel, your other benefits that you get, whether it's your Mediclaim, your insurance, your gratuity, your provident fund, these are not benefits that you get when you're with a law firm. So that's a balance that you create. Of course, there are certain senior counsels and a lot of partners in law firms which make substantially more on the other side. But then that is the fewer percentage because they are exceptionally good at what they do and therefore they're able to command that premium. There is that. But if we talk of the general mass of people where you really have to be, there is no difference.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the answer. For the students who are looking to get into law, so how they should actually start their career in corporate legal?
Yes. To start with, I would say identify the sector which is of interest. When you're studying law, at that time when you're doing your internships, take a look at what is the area that first interests you, whether it is pharma, IT, real estate, FMCG, aviation. There are many sectors now that are available and each of them are highly specialized. I would also recommend that before joining a corporate, that you must work with a law firm, get a lot of litigation experience, particularly because it builds the foundation for drafting contracts. When you know how a judge is interpreting a contract, how a counsel is interpreting a contract, what are the judgments over a period of time, then only it drafts. It changes the ability of how you view the contract that you're drafting. In fact, a lot of corporates do not directly recruit from college into a corporate, because what happens is that you're giving direct advice which has financial implications for the company if that is wrong. There is no margin for error. There is no disclaimer that a law firm puts in an opinion that works and can be done by a corporate counsel. So when we give an opinion, we cannot add one page of disclaimer and provide it. It is either black or either it is white, and you have to give them the path that they need to follow or options with all the risks and the mitigation strategies. Therefore, you're actually coming into a highly pressurized role when you come into a corporate, and therefore it is always recommended to get some sectoral experience, some litigation experience, some drafting experience after you graduate from law before you come into a corporate.
Thank you, ma'am. I think that was a very important lesson there for all the students that are out there, that they should actually first try to get into some law firm and then learn from there first and then try for corporate job, which is very true. Any good reading material, any certification apart from their LLBs and LLM that student would be doing right now? So any other certification book or any study material they should refer to?
Today, I'd say a lot of the students are very fortunate because a lot of certificate programs are now being provided by multiple universities, which can even be done online given the jurisdictions. Definitely on arbitration, there are a lot of certificate courses or even directly qualifying courses on the arbitration side. Those are very relevant and useful in the long run, whether you're in law firm practice or you are in corporate, because all companies are adopting arbitration as a mode of dispute resolution and are more averse to going into court, and therefore that's the preferred route for dispute resolution. I would therefore recommend any certificate course, any kind of qualification to add to arbitration skills. Books, there are plenty of books, and you definitely must read, say, Mr. Nariman's books or all eminent jurists who have written about their experiences. There is a lot to be learned from them. Not just lawyers and eminent jurists. There are a lot of brilliant biographies over a period of time written by for famous people, or their own autobiographies that they've written. When you read, I recently during the lockdown reread Lincoln's books and his entire journey and why he is the way he is, and absolutely brilliant read. I would recommend that we continue to do that. Even with study materials, there is plenty of information now. If you're following people on LinkedIn, even the small articles that are written, a lot of law firms put up legal updates on interpretation of judgments that are very easily available either on their website or on their LinkedIn pages. These are some things that you must continue to do as daily habits. It will really evolve the way your mind starts reading the law, because it's not just about knowing the law, it is how you apply the law which matters. And that is a skill that needs to be learned over a period of time. And these all small habits will actually culminate into that.
Thank you, ma'am. That was a really important part that everyone should actually read more and more and refer to more documents, more judgment cases and reference material. That's really interesting, and thank you for letting our viewers know about that. Ma'am, tell us more about your initiative, Amwizer.
Amwizer is an initiative I started first keeping my own children in mind. I have two teenagers, a boy and a girl, where I realized with a lot of interaction with them and a lot of young adults that the school journey or the young college journey does not teach a lot of life skills, a lot of experiences which are very relevant in today's world with social media, with technology, with an entire download of information. And I had a discussion with a lot of my industry colleagues, and we realized that our network is so large, but that does not really translate into direct knowledge for children or these young adults. And they're expected to learn by experience through mistakes and are not able to take advantage of this knowledge. So I founded Amwizer with the intention that, one, there is no charge to it, because for me, knowledge has to be free. And it has to be available to whoever is hungry and thirsty for that knowledge, and not only to those who can afford it or reach it. So it is online, therefore accessible through internet from wherever you are. It is recorded and uploaded, so if you cannot access it, you can always visit it on another day and understand it. It connects you to the industry experts on many varied topics from across different countries. From their perspective, it's a snapshot, it's a capsule of their experiences on that topic which they share. It allows you to connect, and it is not a monologue. So it is not a conversation between me and the host person that I will usually invite. And it's not a dialogue between. So therefore, if you as a viewer would like to have a conversation with the speaker, ask a question, clarify a doubt, you're allowed to directly ask that. If you're not comfortable speaking directly, type it out and it's answered. It gives you the contact numbers of these individuals, and therefore if there's something that you'd like to clarify, you can directly write to them subsequently and establish your own network over a period of time through these relationships. So it is about sharing knowledge, it is sharing our personal contacts that we have built over a time and make it accessible to everybody, so that they have more of a holistic experience and reach of people who we struggled in our youth to be able to have access to.
Thank you, ma'am. That is such a noble initiative, I would say. And learning from others is one of the very important part. That learning from others' experience is also very important. Yeah, thank you, ma'am, for that. So I think we are very close to our closure time. So any final career advice that you would like to give to our budding lawyers?
So my advice to all young professionals and future lawyers is to read constantly and work on your drafting skills. A lot of times in the recent years, I have seen, given that there is the use of computer, there is a lot of reduced effort in drafting. And it is such an important skill that you have to keep working at it. So not just reading, but also work on your drafting skills. Be always thoroughly prepared. I've rarely seen a litigation or a contract negotiation where underpreparedness has been a better strategy. So the harder you work, you'll eventually realize the more luck you seem to have. And I have actually found and that to achieve, and not just achieve, but to even sustain success, you have to be thorough, you have to be consistent, and you have to build credibility over time. A lot of people are brilliant lawyers but have not managed to build credibility. So that's the other area that you have to continuously seek to build, because there is only a service that we offer, and that credibility is very important. So you must give clear, pragmatic, commercially viable legal advice. And after you achieve all of that, and while you're doing all of that, as you keep climbing up, you have to look down in humility and simplicity in your conduct. That is, for me, a true lawyer.
Thank you, ma'am. That was a really engaging and insightful talk. It was really interesting, ma'am. It was an honor having you here with us. I'm sure this will help our young minds to start their prosperous career in corporate law. So thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.